My name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at 17's Don't Wanna Cry, their front version. It's a choreography video. I'm assuming dance practice. Excited about it because I just came off of a really, really great one. So I'm excited to see what concept they choose to pursue here and the type of performance and commitment they bring to the table. So let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, I've heard this song. Okay. I've seen this part. Oh! Did, Kinja's. I think Kinja's choreographed this, didn't they? I think that's where I've seen this from. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Anthony Lee is who I'd be calling on this one. So this was actually a pretty prime example of synchronicity being one of the key factors to the captivation of your audience. So that, to me, is really what stuck out the most here, is the content that they did was so beautiful and tasteful, and because the techniques are ones where the sequences put together match the music well, whenever you see it within the unisonness and you see the dynamics are so clean and crisp, it helps you be more forgiving on the formation changes, the dynamics, the levels, the spacing, things like that. But they did those things, but they didn't do it as frequently as you normally see 17 do it on a dance practice. So from the top here, they didn't really do a ton. They look up and they were walking, But notice they're walking on tempo. I said this about Highlight, their other routine that I just reacted to recently. The walking on tempo versus just walking around, it does read differently. This right here, they already are captivating through matching the tempo of their track. Gorgeous. And then it's nice where you have people still in the center. And he did na 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 na, right? I don't want to cry. I don't want to butcher the Korean. But as they walk through, as soon as he's done singing, he moves around. But now the only person that's still, he's the next one that's going to be saying his phrase. That was so tasteful, so fun. And now you only have 2 people moving here. I would say one of our guys, he didn't stop as crisp as everybody else did, so I did notice him there. They all reset here around unison. Right there, boom, and they continue the hinge around, laid through it, boom, all of the intricacies while maintaining a polyrhythmic flow. Love that. So you just notice that it's just simple. Formation change, bringing it around. It just looks simple, but it's not, because whenever to have speed control, there's a ton of dime stops in here. You have a lot of synchronous, like getting the angle right and getting the technique right is definitely a tricky thing. But this is the type of technique when you clean it, you have to focus on range, and that's something that I've been saying about all of their videos is they have not struggle. It's not even a struggle. It's something that I just notice is that their range from point A to point B isn't quite as refined, but here it's way more refined. It could be because it's more of a wide full shot versus a like up close and personal shot. But it doesn't discredit the fact that their range is significantly nicer here. And I think a lot of it stems from the technique they're being asked to do. So you have dime stops, nice with the isolations, framing of the face, drop, make it down. Going and around, taking your feature. What's nice is that you're able to see him. He's the only one that traveled forward. 17's done a great job of being able to counter current to showcase a feature. It's really enjoyable. But then he turns it around. I love that. The turn is so quick and crisp. And they end up doing it twice, but the first time was really nice. It was like your typical turn fingerprint, but the second one was like crispy crisp. And that's what made it really catch me off guard. All of this is unison choreo here. Just branching, getting the range right, and because they want to think about refining the levels without making it so loud in movement and in exaggeration, because this is still building up, right? So you don't want to take away from the subtlety of the vocals, but also you want it to be in sync and crisp, you know? That right there, boom, like they're about to fall behind. They go around, snap it down, all to the other side. That right there, that one was really nice the second time. They bring it through, and then this was gorgeous. So I think, I'm going to see if I can get the order right. So they peel it from the back to the front, and then I think they end up going, switching it now to the opposite. So it's kind of like they weave like a basket. I don't know if I can do it, but it's like they did this, and then they flipped it, and then they did it to this order. So they did like a grid line, and then you still have your feature. No, they didn't do that. I'm sorry. I overcomplicated it. They just went from back to front and then from front to back. So what was I thinking? Maybe I was overcomplicating it when I didn't need to. But it was nice that you have your feature that's contributing to that. Then it goes from back to front once again in your ripple. But everybody in your line has to come up and go down at the exact same time in order for that visual to take place. The people that are most in front have, they have the biggest responsibility per se. No, actually the people all the way in the back do, from our vantage point, because what ends up happening is if they're off, everybody else may be subtly off too. So everybody has to play their role. You still have, what's nice is that having your feature over here, he does a trigger point with his arm that promotes them to moving towards the direction where he's at. So I love that. Great choice. They do a great job on their feature work. They do. They kick around, even that kick, he kicks in opposition to really showcase what they were doing. It was super nice, bringing it back to unison. He's still there. He travels, uses that space, and they go do pas de bourrées, bring it around, up, swipe, super fun with the switches. But then what's nice is you have one of your features. He's here, he is still, but as he goes and he hits, they turn around there. Still very nice. Just at not random, but very strategic in how they choose to place those. So it's nice when they go here, around, through, bringing it through, drop to the floor. They bring it up, and then he comes down. That right there. That ain't Anthony Lee. I don't know what it is. I swear to you. My gut's telling me Kinjaz was a part of this. And then that right there, because I've seen Anthony do that progression. It was Urban Dance Camp. It was, what is it? Misty Eyes. Oh, the mountain below. Misty Mountains. That's what it is. Ed Sheeran's cut. Check that out. He did something like that there. But I love it. He brings it about the hat and over to the side. And then right there, no, 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 no. Oh, actually, too, not only did he do it there, he did it, there was a class that I took. It was an online tutorial, and I took of his, and that sequence was there. Because I referenced that type of inspiration, that fold out, in a soloist that I did this year. That's why I know that. So I love the switch, placing the weight there, switching the legs to glide it around, pull it through, and then they slide their arms down, causing a reaction. So there's always a reaction that happens from a cause of what they do. And that's what makes it really tasteful here. Love this. And then they choose to slowly shift their weight on that left knee to cause that rotation, that glide to turn around. They turn it into a transition and not a focal point, which makes it more captivating, because normally groups would make that a moment. They didn't. They made it a transition because it's just big enough in captivation to be a moment, but they made those types of things transitions. It just makes you appreciate the moments even more. And that was really smart, where everybody is bleeding up on the other side, but one of your features just stops and then he sings. I love that. It really helps carry the concept. That right there is really nice. Kick through. That right there, boom, into the ticking wave through, and the drop. This was really nice, where you have they're creating, you have two people that are being featured and they're going through these tunnels. This is really cool. Love the visual. And they don't get in their spot until it's ready, and then they still have an accent of the hand. That's gorgeous. Then they get into a line. People don't understand how difficult this is. You're going to notice that a couple of them trip over each other, but they have to make it look like nothing happened at the top front. So the upper body looks fine, but look, he had to like pick up his foot a little bit more to make sure he overshoots it. But look, and then he had his foot almost got caught, so he had to fix it, so it didn't get caught. I bet that was probably one of the hardest parts of the whole thing, was making sure that they were walking on tempo, the correct foot as well, but also keeping it slow and then picking up the tempo without making it look like they trip at all. Good. And they were like, oh, thank God. And the swipe backs. Notice though that these guys have a really big responsibility of making sure that they don't get out of frame, but also that they are out far enough to where even my back people have enough room. I will say he doesn't have as much room as this guy does. So that would just be my note, is he needs to push up a little bit more to be more in this spot versus back there where he was. And that's just probably because he doesn't have the room, but he ends up creating a point out of it. So I think it works out great. And honestly, it makes sense why they ended up like that, because it's nice that they chose to peel this out and they're dropping it down all the way through the formation. That's super sick. Yeah, that was cool with the pull through. Boom, boom, having a moment. Everybody transitions back to where they are. It's just nice. They have a lot of tension through. We saw that earlier on in verse 1. That was nice. They're just threading and kind of exploring. This kind of feels like a fun little workshop that they had to do. Kick through. That right there. Da-da-da. Now we're back to the pre-chorus, but now it's a different formation, and how they got into it was subtly different. The case with the heels, that was a really nice variation that they chose to do. They do the heels with the polyrhythmic of the upper body. Super fun. It's ton of energy, that little build up, that D with the body. So it goes from knees to hips to chest, and then they allowed their head to go as well. Super fun. And then they vibrated it up. And now notice that most of them are going to be contracting from the diaphragm, not quite the arms. Arm vibrations are a lot harder to do. Actually, no, that's a lie. Some of them are actually choosing to do the vibration, like not the fake it till you make it, but not the true sprint equivalence of the muscle tension, because being able to do that with the body is tricky, especially after you're coming off of the polyrhythmic set that they just did. But that was really nice to see the vibration there. You normally don't see it. You see more jerking. Like this, that's not vibration. That was vibration technique, and it was beautiful because it refines within the dime stops and the other popping fundamentals, animation fundamentals that they were displayed to do here. All of that. That right there, they go and they do like a whoa, but it still has the same reverb that they did earlier. Then they swipe it over to the side, isolation, boom, 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 hitting those sounds, which is really nice. Having that moment. And notice, I know that my feature was right here. And that's because he's the one who only had his arm up and everybody else was downcast. So that was really nice. A really great call on his part to do that. There's another counter current feature moment. Love that. And it goes over, does like, not quite an aerial, what's it called? I don't even know what it's called. I forgot. Flying squirrel, something. It depends on the studio. It depends on who they call it and what style you're doing. Anyway, it's cool. He did great. I love how they built that up there. Joins him seamlessly right back in with the group. And it goes around, da-da-da-da, boom. And then they do the swing, swing, swing. Polyrhythmic isos there. Right there, boom. I love this sequence. I know that they do this. This is like their key focal aesthetic there. So it was nice to see that throughout either a feature or they're all doing it, but it is a moment, but they choose to make it a transition sometimes, a feature sometimes, or they choose to make it like to help insinuate levels. Super cool. I love this right there. Boom, ding, ding, ding. And I know that that was, they did elbow, shoulder, head, and then they transferred it over to the feet, just doing a box step, dropping it to the floor, and then coming right back up. That is definitely an Anthony Lee thing I've seen him do often. I love that. Just think, if I'm wrong on the choreographer, it's okay. If anything, the choreographer's freaking dope. And if Anthony Lee choreographed this, he would do something like this, honestly. So that's why I have some like subconscious confidence behind this, because there's no reason for me to have seen this unless it was on an Instagram and I follow Anthony. So it's I love this. Everybody still. Then you have your two features walking forward. He touches the shoulder and it causes everybody to move. I love that. But look, they have more weight and heaviness in every step. So that helps just make it feel way more cohesive as they're going through. This was really nice where they chose to drop, and they're not just dropping. As soon as they drop, they have this extra level of labor that is intensified in the upper body to help justify this tiredness. You know, sometimes when you cry, you get tired. You know, your emotions feel more drained. You feel drained. And they're really encapsulating that here. And you have everybody drop here. The chest, then you have your two features. The drop, do-do-do, and they're building it up, da-da-da. High energy here. And I love it. They go to the floor, travel it to the side, bring it up to the top, but really great in the placement because it matches the build of the track. Then you have that release at the end. Beautiful. Then you have that feature in the back. He did that. Da-na-na-na-na-na. They come up. Slight stumble from my dancer right here. But honestly, that was my first stumble that I saw. So pretty impressive. And then they're having their moment. One of them chose to swing his arms. All of them are swinging, but he really swung them. So that could promote more focal point energy from him. He also has neon green hair. You know, but we do know we have one of them moving forward. So that's why you could get distracted. He could just be more of a distraction just with those arms. But it wasn't big enough for me to really be like, ooh, you gotta watch that. It was just something I saw. He was our main focus. Why? Because he is the only person looking forward with his head, and he is walking forward in presence. So as he's choosing to do that, then you have another person join in, and because he's walking faster. And I love the fact that he walked nice and subtle, and then he stopped, and then you have another person walk and pick up the pace, and it made you want to look at him more. Pulls it up. That was nice where he pulled and dragged it up. So another instance of he dragged it up, so it made you focal point wise want to look at the arm. And then whenever they started to do their ticking wave, that's why it was so easy to see it versus looking at it about a millisecond after it happened. Your eyes are already drawn there, so seeing that dynamic was way easier to capture. Then they did the peel in to break away. Super fun. Light taps with the switch around. It's just fun doing something subtle and then something quick and then back to something subtle. It's gorgeous. And then they drop it down. Da-da-da. That back to the bounces. Do-do-do. That was just this whole sequence. So they go around, bring it through, do-do-do. So they're hitting a lot of staccato with the legato contractions is really what I would think. If you're looking at this as sentences, your sentences mostly have like consonants, like sharper movements, but then your vowels are kind of chilling and hanging out in between. You need both in order to make something cohesive. You can't just be sharp, sharp, sharp the whole time. You have to have some legato and some smoothness. Just like in your music, it can't just be the same the whole time. You have to have a heartbeat of intensity, especially even ballads. Like that's something that can really be a turnoff for people is if there's no build and if there's nothing, if it's chill. What about it? What's the intention of the track, right? So with this track, there's a lot of build, there's some ebb and flow, and there's some build up here. So the choreography needs to match that. Tailoring vowel-based movement so it's more rounded, more full, but it's still legato in comparison to your contraction movements, which is more, you know, has a sharper sound to it. That's like, I'm not really speaking phonetics, right? But I'm just saying that just the language of this structure is really beautiful, and it works well, especially when you're operating in unison. They're doing a lot of unison in this. And I think that's why talking about the phrasing of their choreography matters more here than in their other choreos, is because their formations and visuals are really nice, but what makes this stand out is the synchronicity behind it because of the unison, because there's a lot of unison taking place. Bringing it down, I love that dun dun dun, very nice, intentional, into more of the wave, into the da da da. That's another one of smooth vowel into consonant. Love it. Vowel, consonant kind of vibe. So I just love the structure, and they build it up. Da, 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 da. So they go low, so you see your feature. They build it up. He's still as well, so you can still see him, even though they're at the same level. Then he joins back in, and just an accent there as they finish it up. Super fun. Do with the tension on that second half. Very impressive on that. And they walk around. I love this formation visual. It's gorgeous where they're looking and you have a branch off of 3. That's the beauty of having a lot of people, is you get to do that. And then they finish at the end. Now, they're all standing slightly different. I'm assuming it's based off of personal preference on that, but that was absolutely gorgeous. I loved that one. Definitely, it showcases a different side of them. Of course, that's what I was expecting, but it was really nice to see them execute this type and aesthetic of style, because it is different. It's just so much more dense in the execution, and it's more technically demanding in the style that they're choosing to do, which is more animation with the isolations, vibrations, not quite tubbing, but you do have to have a really fluent understanding of angles to be able to hit everything as seamless and in unison as they did. So this was awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. I absolutely have been loving this marathon of 17, and I definitely look forward to watching more. I'm not even a fifth of the way done, as you can see if you're noticing by my playlist. I know I'm gonna have some pretty wild rides, and this one was just one of many wonderful takes that I've got to see, analyze, and witness. So thank you guys again for watching. If you want more 17, I probably have a ton of it early released on Patreon. I also should have it by the time you're watching this one. I should have some already on YouTube. But if you are a fan of 17 and you want to see more, I have more. So I'm Jess. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.